the sorrow. Say hello to the sorrow. And with a sigh and these tears that I cry, oh my friend, oh my friend, oh my friend. Say goodbye for the last time. You must say goodbye for the last time. And with a sigh and these tears that I cry, oh my friend, oh my friend, oh my friend, oh my friend. Say goodbye for the last time. Say goodbye for the last time.
Hello, everyone. Welcome again to another broadcast of the Last Goodbye Dash Book, Heroes of America. I'm your host, Johnny Pizza Fratangelo, along with my executive producer, Nicole Fratangelo-Berardi, now commenters, Joan Pareto and Ralph Narciso. Today we have another special guest. Actually, it's a return performance with Phil Marshall, who was a helicopter pilot during the Vietnam War, risked his life many times saving others. He's going to tell more about his story and about his museum that they're operating. That's due for shows all about the Huey 369. So he'll give us all the information about that. We're missing in action tonight is Ray, our other commentator, Ray Schnitzler. Anyway, let's get with the show and introduce Phil Marshall again. And let's go, Phil. Let's hear about it.
How are you doing?
Okay. Want to reintroduce yourself to the people who didn't see you the first time, Phil?
Sure. I was a dust-off pilot in Vietnam. That was the radio call sign for the medevac helicopter, the Hueys with the Red Cross. My rank was warrant officer. The unique thing about warrant officer helicopter pilots were in Vietnam that we were trained specifically to fly helicopters. that was our job. And the Army needed pilots, so carrot in front of high school graduates and college dropouts, which I was one. And so at 21 years old, I found myself flying helicopters in Vietnam, and some of my buddies flying in the other seat were 19, 20 years old. So a lot of very, very young pilots in Vietnam.
I got one of your books here, Phil. Can you see it?
Yes and no, but yeah, Helicopter Rescues Vietnam. That's one of 19 different volumes of helicopter rescues that I've been able to document.
Right. Well, I've been reading it, and it's really great. I mean, you got a whole bunch of stories there. I tell you what, I flew on a lot of choppers now, but I tell you what, I never realized how much danger you guys put yourselves in. When we get on the choppers, we get dropped off and you take off again. I never, you don't really realize how many times you guys get shot at, and how many people lose their lives by you flying these helicopters. It's unbelievable. I mean, really, I'm
Yeah.
flabbergasted reading these stories that you have in the book. It's great.
Yeah. Well, my analogy has always been that us flying those Hueys and Cobras and everything else in Vietnam, but us young men flying those aircraft were like giving a 19-year-old kid a new Corvette. That Huey was our Corvette, and of course we had a job to do. And we didn't do a whole lot of hot dogging, but you found out what that aircraft could do so we could survive. But in flight school, we knew that 1 out of 10 helicopter pilots probably would not come home, and 2 more out of 10 would probably be wounded. So we knew the odds going in. We were all volunteers. And if you do the math on the Vietnam Wall in Washington, D.C., 1 out of about every 12 to 13 names on the wall is either a helicopter pilot or a crewman. Yeah, and again, we were all volunteers. Could have quit anytime.
I'm reading it. And I'm seeing all the wounded and dead bodies that you guys load on these choppers, and getting shot at yourselves. And many times you guys get wounded in the process of doing this extraction. It's just amazing. I mean, you got bodies piled on each other, blood all over the place.
Yeah. But we were there for you guys. That was our only reason for existing, and we knew you were depending on us, whether it was beans or bullets or mail, or to take you into an LZ or bring you out of a landing zone, or when you were hurt or sick, bring you out. That was our job, and we weren't going to let you down. We were going to at least try.
You sure didn't let me down on October 4th, 1967. That's when I really needed it. I needed it really bad. You got me out of there.
Yeah.
So Phil, I got a question. So let's say, how would the process of you actually going out into the field? You're at the base. Your helicopter is ready, I assume. What is the process? You get a call. You get a call from people in the field, like John. John's commanding officer would call you. Is that how it works? And then you're sent out.
We would get a radio call, usually from the guys on the ground. Sometimes it would be relayed to our operations. And as soon as they get a call for medevac, as soon as they get a call for dust off, then they would sound the horn. And we were usually 50 yards away from the aircraft, our living quarters. And so the co-pilot and the crew chief and the medic would run to the aircraft and get it started, while as the aircraft commander, I would go to the operations room and get the mission sheet. Some people call it the 9 line, because that was the important information that we needed. So then I would take that mission sheet and run to the aircraft, which is probably being started or already started. And I hop in the seat, put on my seatbelt, grab the controls, and take off. If the co-pilot hasn't been able to strap in yet, now he straps in. He makes a call to the radio, on the radio, to artillery to make sure we don't fly in front of somebody's guns or where it's impacted.
So you're like, I'm trying to get a picture, like,
I know. going.
Go ahead. Go ahead. I didn't want to interrupt you.
Oh, no, I'm fine. I was just going to say, we know about where we're going. And so once we get in the air, then we would call the guys on the ground, confirm the information. And I have a homing device on my instrument panel. So while the radio operator on the ground is talking to me, I can home in on his radio transmission. So
Okay.
I already, with his coordinates, I already knew about where he was. And so I can tell the radio operator when to expect me, ETA 05, whatever, 10 minutes.
So
Usually 5 to 10 minutes away.
oh, that's what I was going to ask you.
Yeah,
Like
the
how much?
information that they would give us on the way.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. How
Yeah.
much is the flight
So-
time?
Yeah, well, the important thing was that we could often have the wounded in the operating room well within an hour of being wounded. That was not unusual at all.
Right.
In World War II, if you were seriously wounded, excuse me, you only had a 40% chance of surviving because it
Mhm.
could literally be days before you got proper medical treatment.
Right.
In Vietnam, with that Huey helicopter, my onboard medic, and the skills of the rest of the crew, you had a 98% chance of surviving. Now, you might be missing a limb or two, but
Mm.
you survived because that
Right.
medic was keeping you breathing and trying to stop the bleeding as we were getting you to the hospital.
Right.
That was
And
the value of that helicopter. Yeah.
yeah, and I read that in the Korean War, as compared to the Vietnam War, you with the Huey and the way you guys operated actually improved the chances of a wounded soldier getting, like you said, surviving by almost 50% from the
Yeah.
Korean War.
Yeah. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me because, the MASH helicopter that you saw in the movie and on TV,
Mm.
all that thing could do was pick up the pilot and those two outboard, those outriggers. That was
Right.
all that pilot or all that aircraft could do. No medic on board.
Mm.
But what they didn't show you on MASH was that the wounded were usually taken by ground ambulance to a forward aid station.
Mm-hmm.
Then they would be stabilized, put on the helicopter, and then go to the MASH unit.
Right.
Well, with us, we could pick the wounded up during the battle, in the
Mhm.
battle, and take them directly to the operating room with our medic taking care of them on the way. And our crew chiefs too, they got a lot of on-the-job training from the medics.
Right.
And
That's
crew
a
chiefs
big,
were very important as well. So that's
yeah,
why, like I say, we could have you in the operating room soon after you were wounded.
yeah, that made the difference right there.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that Huey is just such a dependable aircraft. It's
Mhm.
just amazing. It's amazing aircraft.
Yeah.
I mean, when we got hit, when we walked into the ambush, and I got shot, I was waiting, after they finally stabilized me, I was waiting, and I probably waited about, it seemed like 45 minutes for my dust off to come on, because they were going back and forth. We had a lot of wounded, a lot of cases.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you something. 'Cause like I said, I was reading your book. To what degree do you keep going in under fire where you say, wait, we can't go in, it's too hot, and you turn back and wait and come and circle or whatever you do to come back in to see if it cools off a little bit, or do you just go in and no matter how intense the battle is?
Mm.
That's a decision that 19, 20, 21-year-old aircraft commander we had to make on almost a daily basis. You're weighing the aircraft and the 4 lives that you have on board against what you've got to do on the ground. Usually, the ground element was not surrounded. There was at least one way we could get in, pick up our wounded, and turn around and go back out the same way, because some of the information that I want as I'm flying out to pick up the wounded is what direction was your fire, how long ago, what type of fire were you receiving, and when they pop smoke and give me the wind direction, now within a few seconds, I make the determination of how I'm going to get in, from what direction, and so on. Because even though it's a helicopter, you still want to land and take off into the wind if at all possible.
Right.
Yeah. So But
yeah,
I got a question for you, John.
go ahead.
When you heard those rotor blades of that Huey, what was going through your mind?
Well, I was half cocked out with morphine, and I heard the chopper. I said, "This is mine. It's coming down." It says, "I'll be out of here in a few minutes, man." It was a
Yeah.
happy sound,
Yeah.
because I was in bad shape.
Yeah. Well,
But
if you were semi-conscious, I would think you're one of your thoughts is like, I'm going to make it now.
oh yeah, I was conscious. Oh yeah, I was. This is I was feeling no pain, but I was definitely I never lost consciousness.
Yeah.
Even when I lost,
Yeah.
I mean, I bled out. My veins collapsed. I lost all my blood. They had to do a cut down on me. But what I want to ask you also is, let's say, most of the time when we got wounded, we chop a clearing for the choppers to come to land, right? But
Right.
let's say there's a condition where the trees are so thick and broad, and there's no way we can get chop an LZ, clearing for you guys to land. So you have to extract them by rope or ladder.
We
Above the tree,
our dust off helicopters, we had a hoist, had about a 250-foot cable on it, and had a jungle penetrator on the end. It would be like an upside down bullet, so to speak, very large bullet. But we would drop that down through the trees, and then after it would touch the ground, and you wanted to let it touch the ground because static electricity would build up. If you touched that thing before it hit the ground, it'd knock you on your butt.
really?
But it had 3 fold-out seats, and usually it would only take 1 or 2 at a time. But you fold the seats down, you put your wounded on board. If you have to tie them on, if they're unconscious. We also had a Stokes litter, but we hated to use that because it was really cumbersome. But we had the jungle penetrator. We could drop that cable down and pick you up. That's the good news. The bad news is we're hovering in the treetops. We want to get as low down into the trees as possible. In fact, I would put tree branches on the nose of the helicopter as I'm hovering there so I can stay over the same spot. Bad news is that the bad guys can hear you, whether they can see you or not, and they'll shoot at the sound.
Right.
So those hoist missions was absolutely the worst, most dangerous, the scariest thing that we ever did in those helicopters. But again, if it was the only way we could get you out, that's what we did.
Especially for the guy who's in that seat coming up, with bullets flying all over the place. Man.
Yeah. And 90-some% of the time it worked well. Every once in a while it didn't. But one of the very first stories that I was able to document was them.
We just lost you.
They didn't go by stuff, but they went out to pick up a guy with the hoist. What's that?
We lost you for a couple of seconds. We didn't hear what you said. Can you repeat that?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Well, I was kind of leading up to one of the missions that I was able to document. The crew went out with the hoist. They were picking up the first guy, and the door gunner, the first Cav had door gunners. I did not. The door gunner was wounded seriously. They got the guy out, went back to base. The aircraft was shot up, no hydraulics. They got another aircraft, got another door gunner, went back. This time the co-pilot was wounded. They lost hydraulics again. They got shot up so bad. So they went back to get a third helicopter, and the commanding officer says, "No, you're not going out. We've already lost 2 aircraft. We got 2 men down. You're not going back." Well, before long, the commanding officer of the unit on the ground shows up and says, "My guys are dying out there. You got to go get them." So my buddy goes out the third time. He gets a volunteer crew. The commanding officer says, "Go ahead. If you get volunteers, go ahead." They went out the third time, and this time my buddy, they crashed. Now they did get 1 or 2 guys out, but now they've got a crashed helicopter. 2 of them are not flyable, and they got 3 wounded. But that was your job. That was what you did, and you took your chances. You rolled the dice.
Wow.
Yeah. Phil, you and John also, and almost anyone I've ever come in contact with who served in Vietnam, strike me as such men of such dedication and compassion for their fellow soldiers. The things you did, like you said, you're all volunteer, you're risking your life, you rescue somebody like that. Have you ever in the future, from after Vietnam, have you ever been contacted by someone you saved?
I know of the two guys that survived the night that I was one of them has still passed. The other guy, the anniversary of that date, every year we have a quick phone call, or sometimes it's just an email. But I averaged about 100 wounded a month that I pulled out of the jungle. And these are the only two. The third guy that we picked up that night died on the way to the hospital.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, you see,
Wow.
that's like me. I would love to know who the pilots were.
Lost. That's the reason we went in. Well, with those stories, with those missions in the books, I've been able to hook up a couple of guys. The odds are pretty high of that. But I did a real serious search for those two guys that survived, and found one, and then the other one found me. But you didn't know. Your focus was to the front of the aircraft and getting them to the hospital. And when they were taken into the emergency room, 99% of the time you never saw them again, because
Right.
you go refuel, you get the aircraft ready for the next mission.
Right.
You might have more wounded.
Right.
You didn't
Yeah.
have time for pleasantries. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I was just starting to say, like I would love to thank them myself, personally, but I have no way of knowing who it was, and
Yeah.
I don't know if they keep a record of that particular day. Who was
Well,
huh?
a lot of us have passed since then, but what you're doing now with your podcast, and what we're trying to do with the museum, with the Huey Museum that we're building, is to honor the men both on the ground and in the air that answered their country's call. You we didn't go to Canada, and if I knew if I was going to get drafted, I was going to get something worthwhile, and luckily I was able to graduate from flight school. Not everybody that went to flight school graduated, but it certainly changed my life, that's for sure. But it was incredibly rewarding. I can't think of the words to tell you, explain to you how rewarding it was. To, like you say, you're risking your life, but you're there to save lives. And there's a lot of grandkids running around today that wouldn't be, and they don't know who I am to save their
Absolutely.
grandpa. But that's
Absolutely.
okay. That's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, you both, and like I said, anyone that you not only answered your country's call, but you answered your fellow man's call. You answered your fellow soldier's call, because there were people there. You served at a later time than John. The conflict started in the 50s. There was so many people. You actually went there, and you I, for one,
Uh-oh.
am so proud to just know you two. John, John, I just put John up on a pedestal. I really do. but
Yeah.
but knowing you and knowing what you did, it gives me chills when you tell me these stories, because I never experienced it. And it's just something,
But
like you said, it's so rewarding, and it's a character building thing that makes you a person, makes you that person that you are.
thank you. Yeah, and I've had more than one fella tell me, who didn't serve. They felt badly about it, and I said, don't. I mean, not everybody can serve. Not everybody did serve, and I said, maybe if you served, you wouldn't be here today. So yeah, just think of it, and enjoy your freedom.
That's right. God bless.
Yeah.
Jennifer, do you have a question for Phil?
No, I'm just amazed at at such a young age, at 19, 20, 21 years old, to have that sense of loyalty and camaraderie, and to have no fear of what was really going on, seemingly anyway. I mean, maybe you did, but it didn't appear to be. You know what I mean? Just to have that sense of just get the job done, no matter what, and to help your fellow man, whether, you know, when they needed it, despite the dangers. It's just amazing to me at that age. Amazing.
Thank you. Well, the fear was there, trust me, but your training, we had the best training. We, as in flight school, they taught us how to work the controls of the aircraft. In Vietnam, they taught us how to survive and how to fly the aircraft. You know, we were always, when we were new, we were always put with experienced pilots, and they were training us to be aircraft commanders ourselves. But yeah, the fear was there, but you didn't want it to happen to the other guy, but you just kind of hoped and prayed that it wouldn't happen to you. We knew it was going to happen. Lost some very good friends, but you know, nobody lives forever. So yeah, so do, like you say, do good for your fellow man while you're here.
You know, Jen, about the fear factor of it. Believe me, you're scared shitless. Okay. Especially when you're getting shot at.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, fear, as much as afraid that we were when we first got ambushed, and fear was there. When my machine gun jammed, and one of my friends said, "John, I need help." Okay. Now there was firing going back and forth like no tomorrow. All right, it was like a Hollywood movie. This guy said to me, "John, I need help." I stood up, and all the fear just left me. Okay, and I was oblivious to the entire shoot. I just did what I had to do. I helped my friends, and the fear just wasn't there anymore. I just did what I did, and I was fortunate. I was running back and forth and carrying guys out and carrying ammunition and medical supplies back and forth through 2 clearings under fire. How I didn't get killed is beyond me. But
but you did what you did what you were trained to do,
and I did it for my friend.
Yeah, and that's just it.
Right.
You raise a great point, John, that we were there for each other. I wasn't there for God or country or the flag. I was
going to say that.
There for each other.
I wasn't doing, at that particular moment, I wasn't doing for my country. I was doing it for my friends.
See, that's just it. Aside from good training, it takes a very special person, I believe, to be able to pull that off. Aside from the training, I think it takes special people to be able to do what you guys do.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree.
Well, thank you. Yeah. I didn't see it that way, but thank you. You know, it just
not everybody's willing to get up like that, like John did, like John describes in his book. I mean, you know, I knew John for so many years, and we worked together in General Motors. I knew he had got wounded in Vietnam, but I never knew the whole story. And I relate back to we hadn't seen each other since 1997 or talked to each other basically until I found out about the book. And then I had to get in contact with him again. And I was like, after I read the book, I was like, John, I never knew any of these things. And to read that story of the battle, that everyone listening now, if you haven't gotten the book, The Last Goodbye, you got to get it. I tell everyone I know about this book because it relates what John just said. Here's a person who gave, you know, you risked your life. He got up with bullets flying everywhere just to help people. And that, like Jen says, not everybody's going to do that. Some people are going to just hit the dirt, put the helmet over their head, and just wait it out. But it takes a special guy like John to get up, special guy like you, Phil, to do what you did. Like you said, you got a volunteer crew together. You went out when, you know, it was like the odds were stacked against you. So both of you guys, thank you.
Yes.
Well,
I can't say anything else.
Well, and John, you can back me up on this. Because you knew.
Phil, we didn't
I'm
get.
sorry, you lose me.
Yeah, can you repeat that?
I say I think you can back me up. The reason you did the things that you did that day because you knew that they would do it for you.
Absolutely. Oh, sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. But
There's a camaraderie that you just can't explain. You know,
yeah,
it's when combat veterans have such a bond that it's just like I tell everybody when sometimes when I sign my book and I'll say, you know, there's a bond with combat veterans that passes on even into the next life. It's
and
unbelievable.
yeah, and if you met John for the first time, he would probably never tell you that he was a Vietnam veteran. And even as you would get to know him, you're not going to hear the stories because you wouldn't understand. And nothing against you, you wouldn't understand. But if I meet him and we realize we're Vietnam veterans, you probably can't shut us up talking to each other.
All right, it's true.
Yeah. I may
Mm-hmm.
not know exactly what he did, but I know what he did. And he may know exactly what I did. And there's a bond there. And it'll never leave till the day you die.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have made some friends through the years that I had no idea they were Vietnam veterans, nor did they know I was, for years, decades sometimes. Oh, you happen to cross paths again or happen to see a picture of them on Facebook in Vietnam. It's one of those, oh, darn moments. You know, I can't believe he's a Vietnam veteran. I've known him and we just never talked about it.
Right. How many people in GM wasn't Vietnam veteran? I never knew it.
Right.
Nobody spoke about it. You know.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. But once you find out, you're just jabbering magpies for however long. Yeah.
You're friends, but once you find that out, there's another level of friendship.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yep. Yep. You are correct, sir.
It's great.
Yep.
Yeah. You want to speak about your museum, Phil?
Sure. Sure. We are building what as far as we know, is the only Huey Museum in the world. There's some Vietnam museums and helicopter museums and so on, but this is the only Huey Museum in the world. It's in near Peru, Indiana, between Peru and Kokomo, Indiana, across the street from used to be Grissom Air Force Base. We're a 501c3 charitable organization, and we have 3 Vietnam Hueys that we have restored back to flight. And once you become a member of the organization, you get a flight in a Vietnam Huey. What's pretty incredible about the aircraft is that none of them were ever supposed to fly again. But with a lot of background, people with Huey backgrounds, 40, 50 years of experience maintaining Hueys, we've got 3 of them back in the air. We have 2 more that we may restore. One of them flew into the museum, and we have not put it back to FAA flight yet, but it will be. But the neat thing about it is that we're there to honor all veterans and patriots. We want to educate the public. We're perpetuating the history of the Huey and keeping them flying. I mean, yeah, it's okay to have a Huey on a stick in front of the VFW or something, but you can't hear the sound. You can't hear the whop of the blades, and that's what we do. We have a dozen or so events throughout the flying season, and we just got done with one in Kokomo last weekend, one of the biggest Vietnam veteran reunions in the country. And we take a lot of people up for a flight in the Huey. We fly with the doors open, just like you guys. So anyway, Nikki, I think you got some pictures there, and you want to pop one up there, and I can talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, I've been popping them up as you're talking, so.
Oh, okay, okay,
whatever
just
you
not
wanna-
showing up on my screen, yeah.
You're not,
Yes,
yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah, I was gonna say, it is under roof, as you can see. Uh, it'll be next year before it's done, but, it's being built totally by donations. We're a charitable organization. The museum itself, the goal was $3 million. We're at like 2.8. We had to start building before we were fully funded. Our temporary museum is across the Route 31 there, across the highway at Grissom. Donated hangar space to us, and it's okay. It's not very improved, but it's okay. But the Air Force, which has a KC-135 refueling wing there, has decided that some of the buildings are too close to the runway, including the hangar that has been donated to us. And so they're going to tear them down. So they don't know when, they just say soon. So we had to start building the museum before we were fully funded. We suggested to the Air Force that perhaps they should train their pilots a little better to hit the runway and not the buildings, but that didn't go very far. So we had to start building the museum, and it'll be completed next year. It's a 35 acre field that fully paid for. Actually, it was kind of donated to us for a song, but a great patriot supporter, Air Force veteran, practically donated the land to us. The steel for the building, we got a bargain basement price for the steel for the framework of the building. Balin Manufacturing in Columbus, Nebraska. It's a family-owned business. A brother-in-law of the president of the organization was picked up by a dust-off Huey in Vietnam. He did lose a leg, but he survived the war because of that Huey. And when he found out that the steel that we were buying was going to the museum, he gave us one heck of a deal on it. So a lot of contributions, donations in kind, and a lot of $1,000 donations to build this $3 million museum.
So if people wanted to donate, where would they send it?
The website is American Huey 369. 369 is the tail number of the first aircraft that we restored. AmericanHuey369.com, .org, any of those that'll come up. We're on Facebook, and any of those places will get you started. For a minimum donation of $1,000, you get your name, your business name, whatever, on a bronze plaque about 7-8 foot tall that'll be in the front entrance of the museum. So there's a little bit of reward for helping us build the museum. But a lot of veterans have donated, a lot of families have donated that their veteran didn't come back. Businesses that they just want to be great patriots that had no connection to Vietnam. But they see what we're doing and see the healing that goes on there. And again, we're educating the public. Kids today are not being taught about the Vietnam War. If anything, there might be 1 or 2 paragraphs in a history book, and that's it. We're trying
to get out there and tell our stories. They got to hear it. Okay.
Yeah.
I have 2 questions for you, Ralph.
Sure.
I just want to ask you on the reparation of the choppers, the Hueys. Are you repairing the bullet holes in them?
Yeah, you have to. We restored a B model, which is an early model of the Huey. We restored a B model Huey gunship, has the miniguns and the rockets on it. It served for 6 years in Vietnam when the average Huey only lasted 6 months. And we know that during one 6-month period, it was shot down 4 times. It was recovered, repaired, put back in the air. So anyway, the restoration, we put little Vietnam service ribbons, like the same size that you would have on your chest, for each of the 77 bullet holes that we found on that aircraft when we got it, after sitting around for 25 years almost. But we found 77 bullet holes and designated each bullet hole with that Vietnam service ribbon. And of course, there were a lot more that were repaired. Doors would be replaced or whatever. So we've identified those 77 bullet holes. It was a complete restoration.
The
Just
Energizer Bunny takes a lick and keeps on ticking, right?
Yeah.
My second question is this: in the museum, is there a list of all the
Yeah.
pilots who lost their
one
lives?
one Huey. Yes, there will be. And also, we will have a brick parkway. Wow, a brick walkway from the parking lot out to the landing pads, regular 4x8 bricks, and every one of the 58,000 plus names in Vietnam will be on those bricks in that walkway. The walkway will go through the center of the museum, out the back to the pads. And of course, the Vietnam Helicopter Pilots Association, which I'm a member of, we have a complete listing of all the pilots. Unfortunately, we don't have a listing of crew members because sometimes somebody would just volunteer to be a door gunner for a few days or a couple weeks, whatever.
Right.
But the unique thing about the 3 aircraft that we have restored back to flight, we have 2 more that'll probably be restored back. If you remember the movie, We Were Soldiers Once with Mel Gibson. It was the Battle of the Ia Drang Valley that was portrayed in the movie. Real battle, real people. 2 of the 3 aircraft that we've restored back to flight were in that battle, not in the movie, in that battle. If you were restoring Hueys, you would be very, very, very hard pressed to find any one of those aircraft that were in that battle. But quite by chance, we have restored 2 of them back to flight. So very, very unique birds. It's almost like owning one of the 2 Steve McQueen bullet cars.
Yeah.
That's how unique these aircraft are.
I have a-
Two pilots. Yeah.
Sorry.
Two pilots were awarded the Medal of Honor
Right.
during that battle.
That's good.
And they were going in, resupplying the troops and bringing out the wounded. Ed Too Tall Freeman and Crane. I forget his first name, but anyway, the gunship that we restored was one of the 2 gunships that escorted those guys in and out of the landing zone to resupply and pick up the wounded, and again where they were awarded the Medal of Honor. So we're just so pleased to have that aircraft back in the air. It's
Wow, that's
incredibly rare.
I have a very good friend of mine who was in that battle. Okay, and they
Oh, really?
Yeah, when they were doing the movie, they contacted him. His name is Pat Sellers. Okay, and if you watch the movie, at the end of the movie, there's a tree stub. When the North Vietnamese general, whatever he was, sees a flag that's stuck in the tree stub. Remember that scene?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He takes the flag out, then he puts it back. My friend Pat was the one who put that flag there.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Is he still with us?
Oh yeah, he's with us. Yeah, he just lost his wife recently, but he's with us. He called me the other day. I got to go help him do something. But he
Give me his contact info, please. I'd love to put that story in my next book.
I sure will. Okay.
Yeah. And
He's
Bruce Crandall was the other pilot. Bruce Crandall.
I mean, they had to call in the upon themselves Broken Arrow when they call in the napalm on their own position. That was a hell of a battle, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
He got to know Sam Elliott. They went out for a drink, to talk to him because they wanted to find out something about them, parts of what went on that day, so he related to them as they were doing the movie.
Yeah. But so anyway, that's the museum that we're building. We've got a total of about 13 aircraft, I believe. We've got a couple Cobras and a Loach, the little bird, the little Scout helicopter. But the main just the museum is the Huey. Of course, the Cobra has so many Huey parts on it, but we won't be restoring the Cobras back to flight. That's the long story there. The FAA doesn't want us flying gunships around. Although there is an organization in Atlanta that has some restored Hueys, but the Army is sponsoring them as recruiting tools. But the B model was not designed as a gunship, so therefore we can restore that back to flight. And we've got some weapons we can hang on it. But if we had a Charlie model, which was designed as a gunship, or a Mike model that was just designed as a gunship, those we can't restore back to flight. It's, doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but that's the way read. So anyway, we've got a gunship, we've got a dust-off helicopter, and we've got a slick.
That's great. Good luck. I want to ask you one other question before we're out.
Sure.
I think Ralph probably wants. But as far as the brick goes, because we did that with my military order, Purple Heart, Chapter 21 over in Westchester, Putnam. With the names on it. Now, is that a separate donation, or is that part of you do it automatic with the funds that you collect?
It's a separate donation. If someone is not comfortable with donating $1,000, they can buy a brick for $100, and that goes to the museum, and so the brick will be placed in the in the walkway.
All right, so they could
So like $9 goes to the museum.
all right, so they could donate.
Yeah, I mean, I have some. Yeah, and all that information's on the website and stuff. I had a guy give me $10 donation. I gave a presentation to an Air Force unit a couple weeks ago, and we talked about the museum briefly. And he gave me a $10 bill, and he says, "Here, put this towards the museum." I got his name and address, and I'll send him a thank you letter. Anything goes to the building. That's for sure.
So they can donate a plain brick, or they can donate a brick with a person's name that they know of. Is that the way it will work?
Pretty much, yeah, because a lot of people are just buying bricks. Put whatever name needs to be put on there. But yeah, you can donate specifically for someone, a brick for someone for sure. And there's a couple of different sizes of the brick, but the minimum is $100 for a brick. But yeah, this event that we did last weekend at Kokomo, we work out our LZ out of a ranch, a farm that's next to the reunion. Their kids set up a lemonade stand, and at the end of Sunday when we were ready to leave, they give us $300 from lemonade that they were selling, and they give us 100% of their proceeds. I mean, these are grade school kids. And well, their reward was they got a flight in a Huey. So
that was powerful.
But every year that we're there, these kids set up a lemonade stand, and Sunday morning they give us the proceeds. They just want to be part of it, preserve the history, and they appreciate what we did.
Now, if a guy wants to have a ride, let's say like a guy like me, a Vietnam vet, who
sure,
numerous times with my legs sticking out with my machine gun and all that, do you allow that, or you have to be strapped in?
We put you in a seat with a seatbelt. FAA is real strict about that.
Okay.
But the doors are open and you're looking outside just like you did. You're just sitting. We give you a seat and a seatbelt.
Okay.
Yeah. But since you brought it up, the schedule is on the website. When you go to American Huey 369 website, there's a schedule. It'll tell you whether it's a flying event or a non-flying event, and so you just show up at the flying events. $125 donation to the organization, and you get a flight in Huey.
Was it like a 20-minute flight?
I wish it was. It's closer to 6, 7, 8 minutes. If we gave you a longer flight, we have to charge you more. So 125 is well, for 17 years it was $100, and this year we had to bump it up to $1.25 just because of fuel prices and everything else. But you can always go up again. There's no limit how many times you go up.
Yeah, that's cash, right?
Yeah, as long as you we take credit cards. But you can also become a life member of the organization for $1,000, and that gets you a flight with us at any event once a year for the rest of your life. Yeah. Some of us, it's a better bargain than others.
Hey, Phil.
Yes, sir.
Just a funny question. Maybe not funny, I don't know. But, you go look in World War II, especially on the sides of planes and anything that went into flight. They always had some kind of nickname or mother's worry, Betty Boop, whatever, the pinup girls and stuff. Did you guys ever do that with the helicopters?
Oh, yeah. There's a couple of books out that's just nothing but helicopter nose art from Vietnam. And sometimes it's just wording. Iron butterflies seem to be on several aircraft.
Right.
There are books out that are just nothing but photos of nose art of helicopters in Vietnam. Yeah. The rocket pods that we had on our gunships, They like a large round can.
Mm.
You wouldn't believe how good they look when it's painted up like a Budweiser can. Yeah.
I
That's,
imagine.
yeah.
Artistic, yep.
We had
Sounds
some pretty
great.
good artists in country.
Mm.
Wow. Anyway, let's, Nikki, how we doing on time, man?
50 minutes,
What?
50 minutes.
15 more minutes?
You got about 10 more minutes.
Oh, okay, all right, great. Oh, that's good. Okay, so we can talk
Yep.
more, all right? Ralph, you got any, Jen, you got any more questions? Bill? A lot of knowledge sitting right there. Try to get something out of him.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I've absorbed a lot, that's for sure. These are just always so intriguing. And, I was thinking about the stories that you're telling. Not only do people that had people over there that came back and survived, but what about the people that went over that didn't come back? There's family members, and they're listening to these stories that they never really realized what their loved one went through. That's why I think these things are so important, not just for the survivors, but for the ones that didn't, and their loved ones can kind of get a grip of what actually went on over there, because they never got to hear it from their own loved ones.
Right.
That's always in the back of my mind when I do these books. I have a lot of non-veterans reading the missions, and sometimes the missions don't end well. And when that happens, I can document it. I can honor the men by name, and I always say the men because there were an air crew. Whenever possible. Go ahead.
Can you repeat that? We didn't get that.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I say the stories that weren't heard, or the men who didn't come home to their families. I always keep that in the back of my mind when I'm doing the books, because when I document those stories that did not have good endings, I try to honor them by name in the story. We were talking about SOG missions before we went on the air. One of the missions that I was able to document, the air crew was trying to decide, the aircraft commander, trying to decide whether to go down and pick up the long range patrol because they were surrounded and they were in desperate need. But do I risk the helicopter and the four of us on board? And as he's trying to make that decision, the radio operator on the ground calls him and he says, "You don't have, let's just say you don't have any male body parts if you don't come down and get us." And so they went down and got him, and under fire, they're being shot at. They get everybody on board, and as they take off, they get hit by a rocket propelled grenade. The aircraft blows up in the air, and everybody is lost. It's sad, but I've been able to honor at least the crew and a few of the men who were on board by name for their bravery, for their devotion to each other. And again, I'm always thinking about the families in the back of my mind as I do that, because I do want to honor them, want to honor their sacrifice, and they deserve to be known by name for what they've done.
I'm sorry, Ralph. Go ahead.
No, all right. I was going to ask Phil, because what you're talking about, these stories in your museum, or is it going to have something like that, like first person accounts, like that might be on video, like something like John did with his documentary, like where people that you've who have been saved by the helicopter dust off pilots or pilots themselves. Are you going to have that in the museum?
We've got a lot of things planned, and one of the things we're going to have is a kiosk where the American Huey 369 members can tell their story on video. And it will be available to anybody that wants to tell their story. You don't have to be a 369 member to do.
Yeah, because I'm thinking John's story of what happened, and being that he was picked up by, would be like awesome to put in the museum.
Absolutely. And by the way, my books are going to be for sale there too, so so you can read the stories too.
Good, good.
But yeah, and John, we can certainly add your story too, because I'm doing another book, doing book number 20, and you certainly qualify for telling your story in one of my books.
Thank you. Appreciate that. What
Yeah,
I was,
Huey Helicopter Rescue.
what?
Well, it doesn't have to be Huey, any helicopter rescue, but yeah, absolutely, would love to include it.
You know, I was going to say what I was so glad you brought that point up about uh, naming the victims and because that's one of the purposes of my book was too. I used all their real names, you know, of my
Mhm.
friends. I didn't put the phony names, you know, like they do most of the time to protect the
Yeah.
innocent, whatever they say. But I because it wouldn't be right to not use their real names. Cause, and the point about the family not realizing, you know, all right, they hear the family member get shot or get blown up or and whatever. But they don't know what that person went through prior to his getting killed or wounded. And in the
Yeah.
book, that's why I bring out in the book what a soldier goes through every day. And like when the people got a hold of me with the book and they said, like my cousins would say, Johnny boy, they call me Johnny boy. Wow, he says,
Yeah.
we never
I'll-
knew what you guys went through. We never knew any of this. They didn't know anything. All they hear is a name getting killed, and you know that's it. You know, boom,
Yeah.
that's it. You know, they
Oh.
don't hear the facts of what a soldier goes through daily. No matter if it's the bugs, if it's the leeches, it's the water, it's the heat, the rain. You know, all these you know, these hazards of war that they don't know about. You know, and that's
Yeah.
what they have to know. They have to learn. They got to know. They got to know what a young kid goes, you know, just to serve his country and why they die and how they die, and you know, it's just very important that they know this. You know?
Mhm.
I'll tell you a real quick story. I'll keep it short. At one of our helicopter events, I noticed this fellow standing. The aircraft was sitting in the LZ. We weren't flying at the time. And he's standing by the fence with his arms folded, just looking at helicopters. And he was our age, so I figured he was a Vietnam veteran. So I went over and talked to him and come to find out that he was a ground medic. And of course, he's looking at the dust off ship. So long and the short of it is, finally got him to go out, get up close and personal with the aircraft. He came back the next day, took a flight with us. His wife was with him, and he was telling me a story about a helicopter rescue mission. I had asked him if he had been involved with any memorable missions, and he had. So he kind of reluctantly said, "Yeah, I'll give you my story." So I put it in one of the books. And next thing I know, I get a letter from his daughter, and she's thanking me for including her dad's story in the book. She says he's telling us things now he never told us before.
Mhm.
There was a healing there,
Right.
and but you know, guy 50 years later is just now opening up about his time in Vietnam because of those Huey helicopters and us being there, and he took a flight with his wife in us. So that was quite a change from just sitting there, standing there next to the fence about 50 yards
Right.
away with his arms folded.
That's good.
You can imagine what he was thinking, what he was remembering.
Mm.
So yeah,
Powerful.
we get to do some healing. But again, she took the time to thank me for letting her dad giving him the opportunity to open up. And she said, yeah, he's telling us stuff that he never told us before.
That's what they have to do. That's why the first page of my book I say that. The very first.
Yeah.
Right.
You know?
Yep.
It's so true because I didn't know a lot about my father until I read the book myself.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And so yeah, until I read the book, I didn't know half of it. And so I thank you all. I have a new appreciation and just respect for all of you. Now, Phil, do you still fly?
Yeah, I still get to fly the aircraft. We have several pilots that are in the organization, so we take turns. We've only got 3 flyable aircraft. So,
Well, then, just so you know, if I ever was to fly in a helicopter, I will choose you, and that's probably it, because that's the only thing I will trust. Otherwise, I won't get in one.
well,
That's good.
we'll work
Nikki,
it out, but you'll get an idea of what Dad went through. You'll get an idea.
Well, you just better be the pilot. That's all I have to say. So,
Nikki, I see Ray Snitcher's trying to get
I
in.
will. You show up, I'll be your pilot.
All right, perfect.
Say again? Oh.
No,
Yeah.
talking Nikki.
Road trip to Indiana.
I see Ray trying to get in. Ray Snitcher.
Yeah, road trip. Yeah. Nikki, I guarantee you when you get off that helicopter, you'll have a smile big enough to eat a banana sideways.
You know, I always wanted to pilot, but I'm going to tell you, I'm scared. Like I was like, I don't trust any pilot, but I'll trust you.
Oh,
I'll
I'm
trust
sure,
you.
I'm sure your mother warned you about pilots. Yeah, you don't want to. No, don't get involved with the pilot.
We need a pilot here. It's monsoon. I need a pilot very bad. I need to pilot myself from my house out from the water around me.
Oh my God.
That bad.
Oh, you got a lot of rain, Ray?
Oh my God, man. I'm sorry,
We can do that.
everybody. Sorry I'm late.
It's okay. That's okay. Where's Ralph?
It's monsoon season out here in Arizona, and we got major rain out here again.
Oh, wow.
So a lot of people getting flooded, and so we need pilots to get us the hell out of here. Get out.
We lost Jen and Ralphie, Nick.
No, we didn't.
Oh, I don't have them on my screen.
I'm here.
No, they're there.
Oh, you're there. Okay, great. Nick, hey Nikki, I didn't press the record button. Was I supposed
I got it done.
to?
I'm
Little
ready
late
to
now.
Rose.
Oops.
You missed a good show, man.
I'm sorry. I apologize to everybody and the fans. It's been an experience.
Mm.
All right.
Yeah.
Phil was great, man. Phil, I got to meet you somehow.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I look forward to that.
Definitely got to meet you, man.
We'll work it out.
How we doing on time, Nick?
We're over.
Want to?
Well, just give me 5 minutes so I can wrap it up. So any last minute book showings or whatever, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rick, you want to ask Phil any questions?
Yeah, everybody hold up a book. I don't have any books. I'm sold out. I'm sold out.
I got yours and mine. Can you see
Yeah.
them? That's what it is, side by side, brother to brother, man.
That's right.
Cool.
Right.
People, you got to get his book. It's great. A lot of great stories in it. Mine
Yeah.
too. Oh. Okay. Go to lastgoodbye-book.com. You can get the book, or you get it on Amazon, and just say The Last Goodbye by John Fratangelo, and it'll pop right up. And go on Amazon to get Phil's book. Okay.
Yeah.
And
While you're there, can you hold it up for me there, John?
how's that? 'Cause I got a very
Helicopter
tiny
rescues.
screen. I can't see it.
Yeah, Helicopter Rescues Vietnam.
Can you see it?
Awesome.
Yeah.
So,
Great.
yeah.
It's great. I'm almost through with it.
Yeah, any volume, if you like one volume, you'll like them all.
Yes,
Good.
for sure.
Good.
That's great.
Thank you.
All right, buddy.
Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure.
Thanks for coming on, Phil. It's been a pleasure as always.
Yeah, thank you very much. Anytime.
And I can't wait to hear about the museum again. So definitely have you back on.
Yeah, have
Yeah.
you back on, and maybe we can show you pictures inside.
For
Definitely.
sure. For sure. Can't
Yeah.
wait to see it.
Yeah,
Great,
we'll the aircraft are there. We'll be flying in and out of the landing zone there behind the museum, and Route 31 there in Indiana is almost like an interstate. So yeah,
Mm.
check it out.
Yep.
Cool.
I got to get down there. I will.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
we'll take care of you. We'll
Maybe
take care.
we'll take a daddy-daughter trip.
There you go. Yeah, that father-daughter bonding is important, especially in the Huey up in the air. You can scream all you want, and that only makes the ride much.
I'll have my eyes closed tight.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
All right,
you don't want to close your eyes. You'll miss the fun.
No, I know.
Yeah, I know.
You'd love it. It's great. It's not like a plane. It's not like an airplane. It's completely different.
Well, I tell you, John, what you need to schedule for is the gathering in August. That's when we do a reenactment. You can show your family what you did. We do a reenactment with grunts, the Black Lions and the Wolfhounds reenactment groups that co-locate with us a lot. And I like to think we put on a pretty good show.
So in other words, next August of 2023?
Yes, every August. It's the second weekend of August, second or third weekend. I think the second, it might be the third. But when you go to the website, it'll be on there.
Okay, good. Maybe that's
Cool, sounds great.
Yeah, that's when I would do it. That's when I would do it, for sure.
Awesome.
Okay, great. All right.
All right.
I wrap up. Phil, thanks a million, man, for coming on.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank
My
you.
pleasure. Yeah, anytime.
Great.
Yep.
God bless you, man.
I
All right?
appreciate it.
And
If you
thank
guys want to
appreciate you.
stay on while I end the show, go ahead. I'll mute my mic. You can still talk.
The show's over?
I'm gonna do it now.
Okay, but we can still talk after the show's over? Is that what you're saying? Okay, let me know when it's. I want to thank you people out there for listening to the show. Hope you really enjoyed it. We had some great information tonight for all you people out there. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another guest for Heroes of America. And we want to thank Ralph Narciso, Jenn Pro, Ray-Stingray, and our special guest, Phil Marshall, and naturally my daughter, Nicole. Right? And God bless everyone. And see you in 2 weeks. Take care.
Say goodbye for the last time. Say goodbye for the last time. And with a sigh and these tears that I cry, oh my friend, oh my friend, oh my friend. Say hello to the sorrow. Say hello to the sorrow. And with a sigh and these tears that I cry, oh my friend, oh my friend, oh my friend. Say goodbye for the last time. You must say goodbye for the last time. And with a sigh and these tears that I cry,